Hey yarn friends, welcome back to LlamaMamaKayla's Yarn Tube. So today we are going to make a preemie size rolled brim hat. Several people have asked me to just do some basic loom knitting patterns so that they could just, learn to loom knit. So this is something that's really easy, and to get the hang of Ewraps, that's the only stitch we're going to do, and to be able to complete a project. So I'm using a number 5 Charisma yarn. Charisma is very, very soft, and it would be great for a baby hat. You can use 2 strands of number 4 yarn, but you have to use 2 strands. Okay, so I'm going to use 1 strand of this Charisma. And so what I'm going to do is make a slip knot, and you can make your slip knot ever how you're comfortable making one. And I'm going to put that on my first peg. Okay, this is a 24 peg loom, and as you can see, I have it marked up different ways, but those markings are not going to count today. I'm not using any of those markings. I'm just using all 24 pegs. So you can put that tail down to the center and take your yarn, and we're going to do an Ewrap cast on. And so what that means is, and I'm just holding this tail out a little bit just to kind of hold it a little bit tight. So what that means is you're going to go behind the second peg and wrap around, behind the third peg and just wrap around, and do the same thing all the way around. Go behind the next peg, wrap it all the way around, and go to the next peg. This is called an Ewrap. So we're just going to go all the way around our loom. Okay, so we're at the last peg. So we're going to start back over with the first peg, and as we go, we're just going to push these down, and we're just going to continue to wrap all the way around. This is working. Oops, see, I almost missed a peg, so you have to watch for that. Okay, so we're almost to the end. And what we're going to do now is yarn over our bottom loops over the top loop and over the peg. And this will create our Ewrap cast on. So I'm just going to take this loop on the very last peg I did to secure my working yarn. And I'm just going to bring that over the top. Okay, and I'm working in this direction. You work in whatever direction you feel comfortable in. You don't have to go the same direction as I'm going. I go in this direction because I work away from my hand instead of towards my hand. That just seems more natural to me, to work away. Some people do work in this direction, and I don't know, that just doesn't seem natural to me to work towards my hand, but some people are more comfortable doing that. So if that's the way you're comfortable, then go right ahead and do that. All right, so that is called an Ewrap cast on. You can see the inside of the loom there and the outside. Okay, so all we're going to do is push these pegs down, and we're going to Ewrap again. Now, I will tell you that when you do the Ewrap stitch by itself over and over and over, your project will curl. So the brim of this hat is going to curl up, and you'll see that as we get going. But that is okay for a preemie baby hat, because they don't need a tight headband on their head. You know, if you did like a U-knit purl, it would be really tight and have to stretch on their heads, and that might be uncomfortable to a newborn baby's head that's never worn anything before. So this will be nice and soft and not binding, having a rolled brim. And so we're just going to E-wrap again. This is great for our very first project, or just to get comfortable working on the loom with your tension and such. When I'm wrapping my pegs, I'm not doing it like super tight. It's really relaxed and just a comfortable wrap. For me, I'm not pulling tight and I'm not doing it too loose either. So now for another row. Okay, and just yarn over. And if you are using 2 strands, make sure you're always picking up both strands of your yarn. So we're just going to continue to E-wrap the next row. And what we're going to do is E-wrap and continue to E-wrap row after row until our hat length reaches about 4 to 5 inches for a preemie. Now, I can't really say how many rows to do because I don't know what yarn you're using. If you're using 2 strands, you might reach 4 to 5 inches before this yarn would reach 4 to 5 inches. So just after you get some length going down here, coming out the bottom of your loom, then you can measure. Okay, so once you get some length there, and you can just keep measuring it, and this is the way I'm measuring. I'm sticking my measuring tape on the inside, just holding it there. And I have mine at about 4 inches. Now for a preemie baby, you can do 4 to 5 inches. I'm actually going to do this one for a one of the 18-inch American Girl dolls, and so I'm going to stop at 4 inches because that's long enough. But if I was doing it for a baby that wasn't preemie, I would probably go 4.5 to 5 inches here. So, okay, so I am happy with the length of mine. So I'm going to take my working yarn, wrap it around my loom one time, back to the beginning, and then clip my yarn. Okay. Then we're going to do a drawstring bind off, and all that is reaching down through your loop. Take your pick and go through your loop, pick up that working yarn, and just pull it all the way out. And you do this all the way around the loom. You can thread your yarn on a needle and go up through each loop, but I prefer just to do it this way. But you do whichever way is comfortable for you. And you can make these little hats in any colors, any color combination, any holiday colors. You can change colors while you're making it and make stripes. So just use your imagination and make lots of hats. If you have grandchildren or children that have the American Girl dolls, you can make their dolls lots of hats. And if you live in a city that has a Preemie unit, like a NICU, that takes hats that are made, you could make hats for the NICU. And I think that counts as if you're a non-smoking home and no pets. So we have pets, so I can't do that. All right, and now we're finished with our drawstring cast off there, so we're just going to pop our yarn off of each peg all the way around the loom. Okay, so now we can remove it from the loom, lay our loom and pick to the side, and so you notice the bottom curled up like I said it would because we used all Ewrap, and that's what happens. And that's perfectly fine for this hat. If you were doing a hat for, you know, an older person, you would not want, probably wouldn't want it to roll like that. Although it does make a cute little hat here. So I'm going to thread my tapestry needle. And sometimes I have trouble threading my needle, so I use a dental pick. When I buy packages of these, I always keep a couple out and put with my knitting stuff to thread my needle. Alright, so I'm going to tighten this up as tight as I can get it, and then I'm going to tie it off. I'm just poking through a stitch and coming out through the center of the hat. And before my yarn goes all the way in, I'm going to go back through that loop to tie it off. And I may do that twice. Okay, so I feel like that's very secure. So I'm just going to run my needle down the center, inside the center of the hat there. And I just went through a stitch there and just come out the center of the hat. And then I'm going to tie it off right here. I do have a little bit of a hole right there, but I'm not going to worry about that. You can cinch that on up. But since mine is for a doll, I'm just not going to worry about it. And I'm going to clip my yarn right here. Okay, and then we have this little tail from our slip knot. And I'm going to just tie that off. Go back through my loop. And that little knot there will roll up in the brim. So I'm just going to trim it right there. And then just let that roll in the brim. And that's the back of my hat anyway. So there we have a little hat for a preemie or a 18-inch American Girl doll. And that's what I'm going to put mine on. So I have my doll here. And I'm going to just slip my hat on her. Kind of just let the brim roll. And that looks really cute with her outfit. It fits her really well. So there we have a loom knitted hat on a 24 peg for a preemie or a doll. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will come back and watch again soon.